You know what's crazy? We spend 12 years in school learning algebra, memorizing historical dates and dissecting frogs, but nobody ever sits us down and explains how money actually works. Not how to budget, not how to build wealth, but how the whole system actually functions. And honestly, that's not an accident. Here's something that blew my mind when I finally figured it out. Almost every dollar in your bank account doesn't actually exist. I'm serious. Check your account right now. See that number? Most of that money isn't sitting in a vault somewhere with your name on it. It's just numbers on a screen. And that's actually the first thing you need to understand about money, because once you get how the game is really played, everything changes. So let me break down what they should have taught us in school, but didn't. Let's start with the basics. When you deposit $100 into your bank, what actually happens? You'd think the bank takes your cash, puts it in a safe, and keeps it there until you need it back, right? Wrong. Here's what really happens. The bank is legally allowed to keep only a tiny fraction of your deposit, sometimes as little as 10%. The rest, they lend it out immediately. So your $100, the bank keeps 10 and loans out 90 to someone else. But here's where it gets wild. That person deposits their $90 into their bank, which then keeps 9 and loans out 81, and on it goes. 100 physical dollars just became hundreds of dollars in the system, like magic. This is called fractional reserve banking, and it's how banks create money out of thin air. Your money is being used right now by strangers buying houses, starting businesses, or paying off credit cards. Now, is this a scam? Not exactly. It's how the modern banking system works. But here's what's important. That money in your account, it only exists because everyone agrees it exists. It's backed by trust, not gold bars. Which brings me to the second thing they don't teach you. Remember when your parents said, "Back in my day, a movie ticket cost $3? They're not exaggerating, and that's because of inflation. But here's what school doesn't tell you. Inflation isn't some natural disaster that just happens. It's created, on purpose. Think about it like this. Every year, the government prints more dollars. More dollars chasing the same amount of stuff means each dollar is worth a little less. Your $100 today will only buy you what $97 bought last year. Okay, you might say, but that's only 3%. That's not a big deal. But here's the thing. It compounds. Over 10 years, that $100 loses about 26% of its value. Over 30 years, you've lost more than half your purchasing power. That's why your grandparents could buy a house for $30,000, and now that same house costs $500,000. So if you're just saving money in a regular savings account earning 0.5% interest while inflation is running at 3%, you're not saving. You're slowly going broke. And nobody teaches you this. Nobody sits you down in high school and says, "Hey, by the way, if you just keep cash under your mattress or even in a basic savings account, you're losing money every single year." This is why rich people don't just save money, they invest it because they understand the game. Here's the biggest secret about money that schools absolutely refuse to teach. Rich people don't work for money, they make money work for them. Let me explain what that actually means. When you have a job, you trade your time for money. You work 40 hours, you get paid for 40 hours. You want more money, you work more hours. There's a ceiling on how much you can earn because there's a ceiling on how many hours you can work. But rich people, they buy assets. What's an asset? It's anything that puts money in your pocket without you actively working. Stocks that pay dividends, real estate that generates rental income, a business that runs without you being there every day. Here's a simple example. Let's say you save up $10,000. One option, you keep it in savings, earning basically nothing while inflation eats away at it. Better option, you invest it in an index fund averaging 10% annual returns. That's $1,000 a year you didn't have to work for. And the next year, you earn returns on $11,000, then $12,100. After 30 years, that $10,000 becomes $174,000, and you didn't work a single extra hour. This is called passive income, and it's how the wealthy stay wealthy. The poor and middle class think, "I need to work harder to make more money." The rich think, "I need to buy more assets so money flows to me automatically." It's a completely different game, and nobody tells you that you're allowed to play it too. Okay, next truth bomb. Not all debt is bad. I know, we're told all our lives that debt is this evil thing to avoid at all costs. And yeah, credit card debt at 22% interest, that's terrible. That's debt working against you. But here's what they don't teach you. Rich people use debt all the time. They just use it differently. Let me give you an example. Say you want to buy a rental property. The house costs $200,000. You could save up for 10 years and buy it in cash, or you could put down $40,000, get a mortgage for the rest, and buy the property now. If that property generates $1,500 a month in rent and your mortgage payment is $1,200, you're making $300 a month in profit. Plus, the tenant is essentially paying off your loan for you. Plus, the property might appreciate in value. You turned $40,000 into an asset generating income and building equity instead of letting that $40,000 sit in a savings account losing value to inflation for a decade. That's good debt. Debt that buys you assets that generate more money than the debt costs you. Bad debt? That's borrowing money to buy things that lose value, like a new car on a high-interest loan or a credit card balance for stuff you don't need. Here's the rule. If debt makes you money, it might be smart. If debt costs you money, it's killing you. Rich people understand this. That's why they're comfortable with millions in loans, because those loans are buying them assets worth more than the debt. Here's something that's hard to hear, but you need to know it. Your job is not your financial security. Your job is your income. There's a difference. I don't care how stable your company is. I don't care how good you are at your job. Companies downsize, industries change, layoffs happen. If your only source of income is your paycheck, you're one decision away from financial disaster, and that's a scary place to be. But here's the flip side. Once you understand how money really works, you realize you have options. You can start a side business. You can invest in dividend stocks. You can create digital products that earn while you sleep. You can learn skills that make you money independent of any employer. The goal isn't to quit your job tomorrow. The goal is to build multiple streams of income so that no single one has power over your entire life. I'm talking about owning a small piece of your future. Maybe it starts with $100 a month in investments or a side project that brings in an extra $200. It doesn't sound like much at first, but that's income that exists whether you show up to your job or not. That's freedom starting to take shape. Because financial security doesn't come from one big paycheck. It comes from having money flowing in from multiple directions. So what do you actually do with all this information? First, change how you think about money. Stop seeing it as something you just earn and spend. Start seeing it as a tool that can work for you. Second, start investing, even if it's small, $10, $50, whatever you can manage. The point isn't the amount, it's building the habit and understanding how it grows. Third, educate yourself. Read books, watch videos, learn about index funds, compound interest, real estate, whatever interests you. The knowledge you gain now will literally be worth millions over your lifetime. Fourth, focus on buying assets, not liabilities. Before you buy something, ask yourself, will this make me money or cost me money? A new phone? Costs you money. A skill course that increases your income? Makes you money. A designer bag? Costs you money. An investment property? Makes you money. And finally, be patient. Wealth isn't built overnight, but every single wealthy person started exactly where you are. The only difference is they learned these rules and started playing the game. Look, nobody's going to teach you this stuff. Not in school, not at your job. You have to seek it out yourself. But now you know how money actually works. You understand the game. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Because the opportunity is right in front of you. It always has been. You just needed someone to show you where to look.